The question to answer is, how do I penetrate the chaos of the internet and the sleep state of the individual consciousness to communicate my viewpoint? First, I think you have to ascertain that you yourself are not in a sleep state. Obviously, you see that the general population doesn't think about much beyond the surface of what is offered to them through whatever media they are exposed to. Author Jan Irvin was on Alex Jones talking about mind control and talking about trivium education. During the course of the interview, Mr. Irvin went out of his way to make a significant comment to Alex. He told Alex that he had to learn to think without emotions. I think that the solution to your question about communication on the internet lies within your own self and understanding how you communicate, how you receive communication. Your reception of communication is entirely dependent on your emotional attitude about the subject of the communication. It also stands to reason that your emotional attitude colors your own outbound communication. In order to understand what is emotional attitude, I want to shift to another angle on this subject. I want to define the true self of a human being through the Declaration of Independence. To the point, all men are created equal. This is self-evident truth, is the cornerstone of democracy. It is saying that all men are created equal to the highest standard of human creation. For Thomas Jefferson and other founding fathers, the highest standard of human creation is Jesus of Nazareth. I say this because the Creator referred to by Jefferson in the Declaration of Independence and understood by all of the signers of the document is the Creator who raised Jesus from the dead. What other God would they be referring to? The highest thought here is that God creates all humans as himself. Jesus of Nazareth as a man is the perfect creation of God. Jesus of Nazareth is the best that God can do. God creates all men equal to Jesus. This is the logical conclusion that comes from God being perfect. Logically, he can only create perfection. He cannot create a man better than perfect Jesus, nor can he create a man less than perfect Jesus. And so every human is identically perfect with Jesus. This means that the basic state of mind, the true self of all humans, is identical to the self of Jesus of Nazareth. This state of mind of the self of Jesus is creative peace. You might imagine that the surface of the mind of Jesus is like a perfectly still body of water without a single ripple. There is no tension. The feeling that comes off of the surface of the mind of Jesus is joy, because joy is the will of God. This means that the natural state of mind of all humans is peace and satisfaction, actively expressing joy. What then are negative feelings if logically they do not arise spontaneously from the true self? What is the source of feelings of anger if those feelings don't originate in the true self? Logically, all negative feelings come from outside of the true self. Defining the source of negative feelings is not important, because the fact that they exist is self-evident, and so understanding how to deal with these negative feelings is of primary importance. Because your thinking is controlled by how you feel about the subject of your thought, it means that negative feelings that come from outside of yourself will displace the good feelings of your true self and create thought in your mind contrary to thoughts that the good feelings from your true self would create in your mind. In other words, thoughts that are not from your true self. These are the thoughts that are created in your mind by negative feelings. Thoughts that are not from your true self. When your thinking is steered by negative feelings, you have become a tool of those negative feelings. Thomas Jefferson referred to the control that negative feelings have on the mind as tyranny over the mind of man. I'm sure you remember Jefferson's oath. It's right there at his memorial. He wrote, "I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man." He declared his feelings of hostility against the negative feelings of hate, fear, despair, doubt, anger, and stupidity, and any other negative feelings that could come up and stand in the way of liberty. It is a logical conclusion that the only thoughts that can be trusted as your own are those thoughts that occur when you are feeling your true self, which is joy. Thoughts that occur to you under the bias of negative feelings will always be problematic, misleading, and off the point, and cannot be trusted. You can only do your best problem solving when you are being your best self. And your best self has no doubt and no fear, because your best self is creating joy all of the time. Being in a good mood is being yourself, and being in a bad mood is being a hateful version of yourself. To answer your question as to whether the internet is dumbing us down, I would respond that the internet is just a mechanical vehicle without any intent, and that the mass of humanity is being constantly dumbed down by non-human negative feelings that permeate the content of the web. Your solution will come from your true self by allowing yourself to feel like yourself all of the time. Real consciousness is the continual realization of your own happiness as the fulcrum of perception. Focusing on happiness as consciousness is the way we all are pursuing happiness. On a political level, a person of consciousness becomes actionary versus reactionary. Instead of fearing the oppressors and allowing the fear feeling to create in you imaginations of disasters, which then brings you deeper into the circle of fear, dumbing you even more. The solution is to think about the oppressors without fear and allow solutions to their oppressions to occur in your mind, and create imaginations of salvation for all mankind. Just the realization that our Creator endows all humankind with freedom and happiness creates a democratic view of God in our minds, in which He is a friend of all of the people. The view of God as a king is what is at the root of all tyrannical regimes and religions, including King George's England of 1776. The concept of God as king comes down through Mosaic law and has been used by all secular and religious oppressors in the West as a validation of their tyrannical authority. The Declaration of Independence rejects tyrannical authority, both secular and religious, and rests real authority in the individual person. There are no 10 commandments in the Declaration of Independence. There is no hate. There is only freedom to live and to be happy.